The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Hello everyone and welcome to V8 Online's coverage of the Monday night V8 Supercar series live here on the brand new iRacing Esports Network. Tonight we turn back the clocks and go to a Silverstone of yesteryear. It's high speed, it's a tyre killer, and it is most definitely going to be 29 laps here tonight for what should be a fantastic round number 4. Limited to just 65% of the 112 litre fuel tank, fuel is going to be a major talking point considering just how much this layout is spent at full throttle. Who's going to get to the checkered flag first, and who is going to push a little too hard and find themselves kicking up some Silverstones in the gravel trap. I'm Bo Albert, in the director's booth is Mr. JK Kennedy, and ladies and gentlemen, look what the cat dragged in, it's Mr. Zachary Hanlon, joining me once again tonight in the commentator's booth after deciding to have a social life outside of sim racing. Very disappointing, but nonetheless, the show must go on, the bad puns must go on, and Zach, this championship is well and truly on as well.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, we've seen so many different drivers this season than we have last season, so many more drivers, and we have to thank everyone for keeping those participation rates up. We have 3 26-car splits tonight, which is fantastic to see, and that means that we have a lot of people contending for the championship. At the top at the moment, though, is Mr. V8 himself, Jared Filsell, up there on 704 points. And he's got a fairly heavy lead over Brett Loxton and Cooper Webster, slightly behind in the final podium positions for that. But all of the drivers behind, Brady Myers, Forzan Elnabi, Sam Blacklock, Ian Ford, Craig Jones, Ryan O'Sullivan, Corey Preston, and names we're not seeing in that top 10, such as Ethan Grigalt and Riley Blythe and Ross Rizzo. I mean, those guys could all start jumping up in there fairly easily too. And it's been a pretty good season so far, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what we have tonight. I think they're not going to struggle as much with tyres if they were on the, the full Grand Prix. They're missing 2 chicanes from what they would be here at Silverstone if they were doing the full Grand Prix circuit. But I still think we're at 40 degrees track temperature tonight, and I think that's going to play a big part in when these guys decide to pit.
Absolutely, it'll be a big talking point in this race, especially with the tyres, seeing how they do hold up very hot, and with iRacing's dynamic track system, it will get hotter as the race continues, so it's going to be a big talking point to see who can keep their rubber on the car. But at the moment, it is Ethan Grigalt on the pole position with a 43.2, only narrowly ahead of Jared Filsell. And he doesn't manage to improve on the second lap, so the conditions very hot at the moment, not allowing a second lap to be completed for a lot of drivers. Scott Larnack currently P number 3 for TTL Esports, which is a good job for him, but that's all been shuffled around now as a bunch of drivers come across the line. Wayne Burke to 3rd, Sam Blacklock now into 4th as well. So the field's constantly changing at the moment, Zach, but we do have Corey Preston on track at the moment in a brand new team.
Yeah, Corey Preston's teamed up with a few people, and they have formed Cross Continental Motorsports. So good to see some new colours on the grid, and they've got some nice sponsorship on the car too. So hopefully that'll be a nice little change for Corey. We've seen him with a lot of pace throughout many seasons of this iRacing V8 Supercars series, and hopefully bringing himself into that kind of more team environment and working with other drivers will help improve his consistency. So yeah, we'll definitely see how those guys start to push forward, and he's just popped himself up into 5th place. Just speaking of him carrying a bit of speed, getting in there up above Scott Larnack. So definitely one to watch. Just having a look for other drivers out on track, it looks like everyone's pretty much done. I think Greg Sharp's still circulating the track. I think he might be I think he could be on a hot lap here. So we'll follow Greg Sharp because there's not really much else going on as he's coming down. Where are we here? We're coming down into... oh goodness, I don't know Silverstone very well. Even though we just watched the Grand Prix last night, we're at Stowe. Fantastic. So he's coming down into Club Corner now, and he'll head down towards Abbey. A very, very technical track here. Very important to make sure that you keep up the flow. Not so much having to worry about braking markers, and just making sure you get a nice exit out of that Club Corner for lots of momentum down here. And now down past Bridge and into Prairie, this is another little technical section where you got to use the brakes very carefully and make sure that you position that car nicely. Try and go for a late apex here into Brooklands Corner. He's staying nicely on the curb there, pushing him way into Luffield. Luffield's really easy to just push wide, but Greg's done a very nice job of keeping it right on the apex there, and he'll fire himself out of Woodkit, and we'll see where he comes across the line. Currently in 22nd position, but actually he didn't get to finish the lap because qualifying is over. So, Bo, would you like to start taking us through our grid?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a stacked field. 26 drivers are going to be taking to the grid here at Silverstone, and they're going to be led away by Ethan Gregolt with a fantastic time, but only 100th faster than Mr. V8 himself, Jared Filsell. What a front row that is. Wayne Burke and Sam Blacklock fill up row number 2, with Corey Preston and Scott Larnack row number 3. Ryan O'Sullivan kicks things off with his ERT teammate Riley Blythe from 7th and 8th, with Brady Myers and Brett Loxton at your top 10.
Jordan Ross sitting in P number 11. He's joined by Forzan El Nabi in P number 12. Brian Borg and Jamie McKnight are going to start together from the 7th row of the grid, and they're followed by Ross Rizzo and Jason Bentz. Thomas McMillan and Steve Jansen will be looking to push themselves forward from 17th and 18th, and Eric Galvez and Guy Leach will round out our top 20. And then we have David Miller, Greg Sharp, Mari Hrushka, Abhirafti Putra, Emily Jones qualifying lower than we would have expected. Looks like she's had a pretty ordinary lap on a 47. And David Kinmond is on the final row of the grid tonight.
Well, here we go, Zach. It's going to be an interesting one. 29 laps in 40-degree heat. On a layout of Silverstone, we don't often see. Often we see the Grand Prix layout, this time using the much faster historic one, which does open up a few more overtaking opportunities, especially into Bridge Corner. Who's going to be brave enough to throw it up the inside and see if they can make a move stick? It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see who jumps first in the strategy and who plays the right calls, because there are so many different ways to go about these official races, and we've seen lots of twists and turns in this series so far. But the red lights are on, getting ready for the start here at Silverstone. And ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be lights out, and away we go as the front row gets away nicely. Ethan Gregolt with a fantastic jump, going to lead comfortably into turn number 1 as we have Squabbles in the back, trying to jostle for position, make any moves you can. At the moment, Filsell into 2nd, Burke into 3rd, and it looks like the rest of our field at the moment going to make it through nice and clean, which is fantastic to see. But the real challenge is about to come as we head into Maggott and Beckett. Such a hard section in these V8 Supercars. The weight transfer from side to side is hard enough by your own. A lot harder when you're side by side, as a few drivers in the mid-pack did find out Brian Borg got a little bit crossed up, and very lucky to hold the car on track as well. But so far, we're all okay, and unfortunately, Rizzo has lost a lot of positions from this start, but are still trying to make some up as we head into Stowe Corner, Zach.
Yeah, Brian Borg actually just got a little tap there from Thomas McMillan as they were coming through Maggots there, so good for him to keep it on track. But up at the front, Wayne Burke is looking very, very aggressive on Mr. Filsell, and just trying to get in the mirrors a bit and force Filsell into a wider line to try and get through. Not going to be able to do it this time. Do have a couple of other cars. Looks like Scott Larnack in his TTL Falcon getting a little crossed up on the exit as Riley Blythe rubs doors a little bit as they come through Abbey, and that's going to be tight, but Riley Blythe is going to come out, and even Brett Loxton might try and capitalize on this as well, but he's going to try round. Oh, he runs too wide, and he's actually gone off the course, so bit of trouble there for Brett Loxton as he tries to get through, and luckily not losing too many more places. He could have quite easily lost one to Jordan Ross and El Nabi there, but managing to keep it on. So good move there by Blythe as Larnack just got really crossed up coming out of club corner there.
Absolutely, and it's not over for Forza El Nabi just yet. He got held up high and dry through the final corner, and Jamie McKnight tries to take advantage in the Evolution Racing Team car. He gets through his position gain there. El Nabi in the grass on the straight as well. That's not going to help in the turn number one as Ryan Borg thinks about it. Can't do anything with it just yet, however. So a really, really interesting first lap. And at the moment, it is still as it was from qualifying. But like you say, Wayne Burke well and truly in this fight with Ethan Gregault and Jared Filsell. Sam Blacklock on the back of Wayne Burke's car as well. So the top four really, really close at the moment, which is fantastic to see. And this very well could go on all race long with how the slipstream does play out around this layout of Silverstone. But at the moment, everyone's still circulating on track. Great to see. But a few people are going to have to go defensive into Stowe here. One of them is Thomas McMillan, who is coming at a charge from Guy Leach. Leach thinks about it up the inside, goes as late as he can, but not quite able to get the move done.
Yeah, it looks like Brett Loxton and Jordan Ross there having a bit of a fight as well, and Jordan losing a little bit of time because of that. But I've also noticed that Ryan O'Sullivan for the last half lap has been looking very, very keen on getting past Corey Preston, and he's got a little bit of overlap there, forcing Corey to go quite tight, and that might not allow him to carry as much speed through there as he wanted. You can see now Ryan O'Sullivan really getting in the mirrors half track as he turned in for the bridge corner there, and now going for a bit of an over-under. Corey Preston runs very, very wide, very hard braking point there, and Corey Preston's going to lose another spot even to Brady Myers as well, getting a little bit of a tap, and see if Corey tries to repay that favor. It looks even like Brady might he does just give him a bit of a rub on the exit, and now Riley Blythe again taking advantage of others' mistakes. He's right back up on Corey Preston here, and he might go for a dive into Cops, but he's gone up the inside there. Very nicely done by Riley Blythe, but now Corey Preston's going to come back. Riley's out in the grey, and he tried to get the power down on the slippery stuff, couldn't quite make it work, and he's lost 2 positions because of that now.
Absolutely, what a battle there was, but unfortunately no grip on the AstroTurf for Riley Blythe, and does lose that spot which he fought so hard to get on Corey Preston. But now it's up to Brady Myers, who gets an absolutely fantastic run, already able to pull out and get alongside the number 17 Falcon. So we'll see what Brady Myers can do, but it's not easy going around the outside here. It can be done, but only if you're brave. So how brave is Brady Myers feeling? The answer is very. Holds it around the outside and is only just gonna hold on. And now look at Riley Blythe, he's thinking about it. Brady Myers getting 2 wheels in the grass, but not able to get any kind of run on Preston this time around. But Zach, there is still 26.5 laps to go, and I bet every one of these drivers is thinking about how they can make a move on the next one, or the next one, or the next one, because there is still a long way to go.
Yeah, they are, but we do have a battle up the front for second place now. Wayne Burke is closing in on Jared Filsell and looking very comfortable behind that TTR machine, even though he is in a bit of a sandwich between 2 teammates. Wayne doing a very good job to keep applying pressure and not succumbing to the pressure of Sam Blacklock. Those guys are so close right now, barely 3 to 4 cars between the 3 of them, and Wayne not getting the best of exits as they were coming out of Luffield there, and it's a very important traction zone to get right because there is a big long run down into Stowe here, and now Wayne actually running a little bit wide, and now Sam Blacklock's going to have a little bit of a look. He might have a little bit of a run coming into Maggots and will force Wayne to take the line that he probably wouldn't prefer, having to go a little shallow, and that's going to ruin the rest of his run through this corner. And it's so important to get that position right as you're coming into this section of corners here. It's one of the most difficult sections, I think, of a lot of tracks on the calendar.
Absolutely, it's one of those sections where you really have to get something right, but all of a sudden Ethan Gregault has a massive issue. He is out. I was going to comment on what a fantastic job he was doing, put out a 1-second lead. Now all of a sudden he's blinking in and out, pulled out, on the straight, and that is day done for the number 2 car, potentially still on track, but is not going anywhere in a hurry. Disaster for race leader. That promotes Jared Filsell, championship leader, to the front of this race. Wayne Burke to second, and now this battle becomes all the more critical, Zach, because there is even more on the line here.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, that's just going to make the water in Wayne's mouth just run even more. And but that is also going to possibly help Jared, because he doesn't have to worry about I mean, I know these cars don't really have much aerodynamic effect, but there are some pretty high speed corners around here, and that might not have been helping with his front tire life. And Ethan Rigault has now disconnected from the server, so he had a technical issue there, which is very unfortunate, because he's as I was saying before we started the race, he's one of the guys that can easily jump up into championship contention in this series, and he was leading the race, so that is very disappointing. And that cuts our battle for 4 into a battle for 3, and TTR now have 2 cars on the podium.
They absolutely do, but the issue for them is they're not first and second at the moment. They are only first and third, so Sam Blacklock has to see if he can do something to get past Wayne Burke to make it a dream result for Trans-Tasman Racing at the moment. And at the moment, these 3 are all still line astern, but so is the battle pack behind, which includes so many cars. Ryan O'Sullivan now leads that train with Corey Preston behind, and this battle, well, this train goes on a very, very long way, all the way down to 16th, in fact, down to Thomas McMillan. And also Kyle Leach isn't far behind as well. So this is a huge battle at the moment. So any little bit of contact, anyone getting pushed out perhaps into the grass or gravel, which will be a real shame, is going to lose them oh so many positions. So hopefully we don't see any of that. But when a train is this close, there's always going to be someone willing to go for a risky move.
Yeah, but I think Ryan had a little bit more of a lead the last time we came round. It looks like Corey Preston, after having that little battle previously, is actually starting to close back up on Ryan. And speaking of closing up, Jordan Ross is starting to close up on the back of Scott Larnack, and he might have a bit of a look in a bridge. Scott's going to close the door, and they both run wide, and Scott, yeah, very late to close the door there, and both of them running wide. Luckily, Scott didn't lose a position, but Jordan did lose a position to Brett Loxton there, so Loxton, looking to promote himself in the championship standings, will need a few more positions if he's going to be catching Filsell, but he's not looking as comfortable as he has previously. Maybe this hotter weather not suiting Brett Loxton, but he does get that position off Jordan Ross. And Ross, after looking very feisty on Larnack, is now going to have to try and scratch that one back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jordan Ross was just about pushing Brett Loxton through Woodcote Corner there. Really, really close stuff from between those guys, but nonetheless, they all carry on and live to fight another day, as we're now working lap number 6 currently, and the tyres will start to be going off quite considerably. Of course, the Dunlop rubber these cars use goes off very, very quickly, and in this weather, it's going to be all the more worse. So it's going to be very tough for these guys to get traction, but traction not an issue for Jordan Ross out of the Maggots Beck section. Already got a fantastic run on the driver in front of Brett Loxton, pulls out now, and he has the preferred line heading into Stowe. How late is he willing to do it on the brakes? Just late enough to get the move done, but slides a little bit wide again. Jordan Ross cannot pull off moves today. The second he tries a late braking move, the front tire is not willing to grip up on him at all. And if anything, if he continues this, he has to be careful when he does pick and choose his moves, because Jamie McKnight is all the more closer now and could really capitalize if Jordan Ross tries one more audacious move.
Yeah, exactly, and that's not going to be helping his tires either, so they really have to, or he really has to think about that in the long run. I mean, we probably would expect that most cars are going to come in around the halfway mark, and that's mainly for the tire factor. As Ross Rizzo just going a very nice move down on Jason Bentz, or Brian Borg, pardon me, it was there. But Borgie having a go back and pushes Ross wide, and he's going to now open the door for his teammate there, and Ross is going to lose another position after a bit of an average run from Ross at the moment. He has kind of clawed himself back to where he started, but not ideally where he would be at all, and that move was not ideal for him at all, with Jason Bentz sneaking through after that contact with Borg.
Yep, so a lot of fighting happening on track at the moment, and Rizzo's day is not over yet, but he might be able to get a bit of a move happening here at the moment on Jason Bentz, and McMillan's on this as well. He's trying to get some kind of a move done. But nothing happening just at the moment as Benz actually makes a big mockery heading into Maggots and Beckett's, and that gives the advantage now to Rizzo, who gets a lot of opposite lock there on the exit, and that gives a fighting chance there to Benz on the exit, gets the move done, and Rizzo has his mirrors absolutely filled of Thomas McMillan. Almost had two cars in the grass there, trying to defend from one another. Is McMillan going to be close enough to try a big move into Stowe? Thinks better of it on Ross Rizzo, but we do have another driver losing a spot, which is Riley Blythe, and he's under a lot of attack from Brady Myers, and they're going to go side by side. Not much room left there at all. Riley Blythe just about pushing Brady Myers in the rear quarter panel, trying to get a run, trying to continue it down this straight here, but Brady Myers gets the overlap, gets the position, and moves up one more spot. So good news for Brady Myers, not so much good news for Riley Blythe, who continues to hound the back heading under bridge. Such a high-speed section is V8 Supercars, high load on the tyres as well. And Riley Blythe not able to get any kind of cutback on Brady Myers at the moment. So this battle will continue on for the next few laps. But will Brady Myers be able to get a bit more advantage now in clean air? And will he be able to get to the back of Corey Preston just half a second in front?
Yeah, well, the lap times, I mean, the way that he's driving right now suggests that he probably could, but Corey Preston has, I've noticed as well, just started to drop off Ryan O'Sullivan a bit, who is also dropping off the leading pack. So maybe these guys are just starting to conserve tyres a little bit. It doesn't look like Brady and Riley are thinking about that. But we've just heard as well, Forzan El Nabi and Jamie McKnight have just had a little bit of a touch coming through Stowe, and yeah, Forzan just trying to go through on the inside there, just being a little bit forceful.
Oh, and it's still going on as Jamie McKnight tries to get a move done on Brian Borg. Now he almost comes out back onto the track. So close to taking out Brian Borg there. That's going to be a slowdown, I would think, for Jamie McKnight potentially. But more importantly, he is still in that race, because that could have been oh so much worse. Had to get through the grass. Now trying to defend on Thomas McMillan. Almost contact there. A bit of a aggressive block for McKnight there. We'll see if it pays off as McMillan tries around the outside of Stowe. Very hard to do, but it looks like McMillan might just be able to get it done as McKnight has no rear tyres. Rizzo might think about getting a move done here as well. So Jamie McKnight is not having a whole heap of fun on lap number 8. Rizzo around the outside now, but such a hard corner, not going to be able to do it. McKnight, what a disaster start to the lap that is, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I don't think, I think, you know, that block that he did on McMillan was probably just a little bit out of frustration there. I don't think he'll be particularly pleased with what happened. I mean, it's a bit of a racing incident there, but just ran a little bit wide and made contact with that cross-continental motorsports car, and he'll just have to reset his mind and keep on pushing forward. He's obviously got the speed to be faster than those cars, so does have a little bit of damage, but hopefully he can push himself forward. But this battle for 6th and 7th with Riley Blythe and Brady Myers just will not stop. Riley, as I've said many times before, he is just absolutely relentless when it comes to making overtakes and trying to get to the front of the field. And he's definitely showing that tonight. He's put on quite a few good overtakes so far, and he's even been trying to push Brady wide and make him make a mistake through certain sections of this track. And he's right back on that bumper of Brady Myers after Brady was able to get just a little bit of a gap. And now Riley has a nice exit coming out of the high-speed complex there and coming down the hangar straight. Pardon me, not the hangar straight. Oh, yes. No, I was right. I shouldn't have doubted myself. Coming into Stowe now and not able to pull it off there, but definitely looking very, very aggressive and trying to keep in the mirrors and see if he can find a way past on this lap.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he can. He looks very threatening at the moment. And a very nice run there through that corner, trying to get the better run. And I think he's just about done it. Will Brady Myers be able to defend? Oh, he tries to squeeze him almost into the grass there. The amazing graphics that iRacing recently brought in having to be used there. Grass being kicked up everywhere. No advantage or way through for Riley Blythe on this time around. So unfortunate for him. He cannot get it done, but he looks up the inside now. And he's got the overlap done perfectly. Bit of a bump mid-corner as well. And we'll see how this goes. But if Brady can hold it around the outside through here, he might just be able to get the inside. Heading into the left field, does that indeed up the inside, but he hasn't quite cleared him. And on the outside, Blythe might be able to get the better exit. Not able to do it. Brady Myers hanging on for dear life at the moment for this position number 7. And Blythe so close to the back bumper there. Gets a beautiful crossover heading into Cops. Can he throw it up the inside and get the move done? He does throw it, and will he be able to catch it? Can he catch the position? Bit of a bump as well there once again. Beautiful racing, hard racing, and position gained for Riley Blythe into position number 7.
Yeah, very, very nice little battle between those guys. And now Ross Rizzo
Very big moment for Jared Filsell heading onto the hangar straight, and this might just give Wayne Burke a bit of an advantage. He's going to have a look, looks to the inside for the race lead. Wayne Burke could not quite do it, wasn't close enough, almost the bump to the back of the Trans-Tasman Racing Commodore. This is getting close now. I've seen for the last few laps, Burke has been slowly reeling in on Filsell. So Filsell, for the second race in a row, not looking entirely comfortable in these races. We saw him last time out at Watkins Glen, coming under a lot of pressure from Forzan Nabi, and now it's Wayne Burke that steps up to the platform and says, Mr. Jared Filsell, I'm going to challenge you, and he's putting on a fantastic display here at the moment, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. And another interesting thing to consider is we could be coming into a form of pit window very, very shortly. Some people may choose to come in around lap 12, possibly. We think that's probably the longest that they'll be able to go on fuel is around lap 12. So will one of these guys decide to make the jump and swap onto some fresh rubber? Because at the moment, they're lapping pretty much 2 seconds off where they were at the beginning of the race. And after 10 laps, that is a fairly sizable amount of time. So if you can even get in right now or in a lap or two and put some new boots on and get 2 seconds on your opponent, that's going to be massive.
It will be, and Brady Myers is definitely listening into this broadcast because he's decided that now is the time to pit. So Brady Myers brings in the number 7 TTL Esports Commodore, and he's going to take his very first pit stop of the day. So we'll wait and see how this goes. But once again, it's on for a race lead. Wayne Burke trying to get a nice run onto the hangar straight. Not going to be close enough on this time around, I don't think. So a bit unfortunate there for Wayne Burke. Going to have to wait one more lap, although he could be well and truly fuel saving at this point. And fuel will be a talking point in this race, of course. They're going to have to fill quite a lot as Jared Filsell misses the apex by quite a lot there through Stowe. Doesn't quite open the door. Burke not close enough, but it gives him now enough of an advantage that if Filsell doesn't get the best run through club here, he could potentially set himself up for a move heading into Bridge, Zach.
Yeah, and he's looking very, very good as they come out there. So a little bit of slipstream. I don't know if they have to just have a little bit of a lift as they come through here, but very, very high speed, 250 kilometers an hour just before they break into Bridge. And unfortunately, Wayne just not quite close enough as they were coming through there. And you can see all the drivers taking very, very different lines through that corner. And again, through this section as well here, you can see Wayne, using a slightly wider line. And they're all going very, very similar pace. I think in these V8 supercars, maybe the lines are a little more, you can use several different lines to be fast rather than just having one line. Like in a Formula One car, you might have just one line that's a lot faster than all the others. And all those drivers there using different techniques to try and outplay each other. And Wayne doing a very, very good job at the moment. It has been interesting that Jared Filsell's been making a couple of mistakes there because usually he is quite flawless. Yeah,
typically he is, but he still has the race lead and still has an advantage in the fact that none of his true competitors at the moment have pitted. A few drivers that are pitting on this lap include Riley Blythe, Forzan Al Nabi, and his Trick Simsport teammate Ross Rizzo as well. So a lot more drivers beginning to dive into the pit. So we'll see what happens with our front 3 leaders at the moment if they're going to start thinking about pit stop, because we know how vital the undercut can be in these cars. So they do have a bit of an advantage in the fact that for Jared Filsell, they've got Sam Blacklock as a bit of a dummy. So if Blacklock would to dive in on this lap and potentially try and get in the middle of Filsell and Burke, that could really benefit them. But we'll wait and see, as in the pit stop, it's actually Brady Myers who has lost out by quite a lot. He was fighting with Riley Blythe, of course, and Blythe is currently going through the Beckett section on his way through the hangar straight. He's got Forzan Al Nabi behind, and then Brady Myers probably about 4 seconds back, Zach.
Yeah, I'm just having a bit of a look into that. It's just a little bit difficult to sort through the data at the moment, but yeah, it looks like Brady Myers' stop was roughly the same as everyone else who pitted. Forzan Al Nabi marginally taking the cake for the pit stop time there, but nothing that would kind of show the massive gap that they have at the moment. I did notice as Forzan was coming out of the pits and Brady was coming through Stowe, he had a huge moment on the exit there. So maybe he was just pushing too hard on that outlap and just trying to get too much too early and just making a bit of a mess of it, because he does have, I mean, yeah, Riley Blythe and him were neck and neck as they were coming in. So yeah, I have to maybe look back and see what happened on that one.
Well, it is a little bit of a challenge, isn't it, in the fact that, you know, coming out of a pit stop, you're on new tyres, you're used to the hot tyres, and you've got to be able to adjust your driving style a little bit just to be able to get yourself used to the cold tyres with the more grip you have. But we are beginning to approach the halfway stage of this race, lap 13 at the moment, and you are watching V8 Online's coverage of the Monday night official series Strength of Field race, of course, live at the moment on the iRacing Esports Network, the fantastic new network for the guys at iRacing, for all your favorite content creators, including RaceBot TV, LSR TV, and a bunch of others as well. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because there is plenty more content from where this is coming. But the race at the moment is really beginning to heat up. Pit stops are becoming a big talking factor at the moment, and I think Jared Filsell might be pitting on this lap. And why do I think that? Because he has put the hammer down and is flying on this lap and extended the lead out just a little bit over Wayne Burke. So we'll wait and see what the Trans-Tasman racing cars do. Of course, there's two of them in this battle and only one Synergy Sim racing car. So there's a bit of an advantage for TTR there, but we'll see what happens as they make their way around this very tough Luffield corner, which on old tyres must be absolutely horrendous. On the power now, and it looks like all three of them go for one more lap, Zach.
Yeah, I don't think these guys really, I mean, they're not worrying about what's happening behind them, because they have such a gap back to O'Sullivan, I think, who's just possibly, he must have pitted. Yeah, he's just pitted. So they've got a big gap back to the guys behind them, essentially, and they're not really worrying about what's going on behind them, because so it's basically just who pulls the trigger first in this first top three. And you have to think that TTR have the advantage here. Having those two cars, I mean, they could just both say, all right, let's just pull the trigger now and go. And if Wayne doesn't have his eagle eye out, he could lose out massively if he doesn't pit on the same lap as these guys. So he's going to have to be very, very cautious, and hopefully he has a spotter for him as well, so that maybe his team is helping him find out when those guys are going to make that pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm a little bit surprised Wayne Burke isn't playing it a bit more risky and perhaps going for a much more aggressive strategy and really forcing Trans-Tasman Racing to play their hand here. I thought he would have potentially pitted quite a bit earlier, got an undercut, so he would have been guaranteed the race lead just about, and really tried to make his move there and defend for the rest of the race, because of course there are a lot of ways you can defend around here, because a lot of the overtaking spots do come from high-speed corners. So if you slow your exit quite a lot and don't allow the car behind to get much of a run, you are able to defend quite effectively around this track. It's one of those circuits you can defend and you can overtake as well. It's a beautiful combination here at Silverstone, using the old layout, of course, and we'll wait and see if it does provide a grandstand finish, as so many of these rounds have, as Wayne Burke gets very close underneath the rear wing of Jared Filsell, and he is listening to me. He decides it's pit lane time, and Jared Filsell has to react to that, and he just cuts across the white line at the very last moment. Contact in the pit lane, Blacklock into the back of Wayne Burke, and you have to be careful if you do give someone a bump, because if you do give them a speeding penalty, they're not going to be happy at all. But this is all going to come down now to who has the fastest pit crew, Trans-Tasman Racing or Synergy Sim Racing. They all stop on their marks just about the same time, and Sam Blacklock does not at all. He is out of contention now. That was a horrible entry, loses a bunch of seconds already. So we'll keep our eyes on Wayne Burke and Jared Filsell. Burke had the opportunity to be fuel saving in that first stint, so I expect to see him off the jacks first. But wait and see. And indeed, he is first off. He's first out of the lane, and by a country mile as well. A fantastic pit stop from Synergy Sim Racing, and they are an entire, what's that? It's 2.4 seconds. That is a big saving for Wayne Burke, but is that too much? And does he have to be very, very light-footed heading onto this final few laps as Sam Blacklock comes under pressure from Ryan O'Sullivan?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Does he push now and try and eke out that lead as much as he can, or does he try and conserve the tyres at the beginning of this stint so that he has a little bit more to play with towards the end? It's really hard to say, but a very, very good job from him there on the strategy. And yeah, we'll see if he has to maybe save a bit of fuel towards the end of the race as well, because he does have, I think, actually the fastest pit stop of anybody by close, or nearly the closest of, or nearly the fastest of anybody, I should say. He's got about a second over most of the field in terms of his pit stop, and I think the fuel rate that goes in is about 2 to 3 liters a second. So he may have a couple of liters less than Phil Sell, and that could definitely make all the difference at the end of this race.
It very well could, but look at the pace of Jared Phil Sell on this outlap at the moment. Of course, the tyres still not up to the pressures they're used to. So like I was saying before, it's a different driving style. You have to adjust. You're used to the hot tyres, the old rubber, there's not much grip. And all of a sudden you come out of the pit lane with all this grip, beautiful pressures and everything. And it's a dream to drive, but it does require a little bit of a driving style difference. And at the moment on this outlap, Jared Phil Sell definitely reeling in a lot of that lost time that he did lose to Wayne Burke in the pit stop. So this could be potentially the lap that really brings Jared Philsell back into this fight for the race win. And already you can just see the extra corner speed he carries into the entrance of Cops. Fantastic display of a driver with confidence, and perhaps a driver a little bit nervous on fuel at the moment. Wayne Burke, I can't remember the last time he might have picked up one of these official series race wins, but I'm sure it was definitely 1 or 2 seasons ago or more. So it's been a while between drinks for Wayne Burke, and he has a fantastic opportunity here. But there's only one problem. Mr. V8 Supercars, Jared Philsell, right behind.
Yeah, and that is a very big problem, and Jared's already closed up that gap quite tremendously, and he does look like he's driving quite aggressively compared to Wayne Burke. You can just see the way that the front of Jared's car is moving around. It's quite pointy, and Wayne's, by comparison, kind of seems a little bit lazy, and Jared using a lot more of the curb there to try and carry more speed through that corner, and trying to push up through the corner and use up his tire a little more. And you can see how much of a better run that gave him as they were coming out of club corner there. And now he's right on the back, only 0.2 of a second separating these guys. And I don't think he's going to have room for a lunge down in here, but as they come down through, possibly on the exit of Luffield, that's where he'll be looking to possibly get a really, really nice exit and push himself up through Cops.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if there's any opportunities on this time around. One opportunity is coming from Forza Al Nabi, who's really putting pressure on Corey Preston. And these two are fighting quite a lot at the moment. And in fact, that was actually Corey Preston getting the pass done on Forza Al Nabi. So Corey Preston, on his debut for Cross Continental Motorsports, of course, didn't race last week out, is racing this week. So first time in these colours for him on the broadcast, doing a very, very nice job at the moment. Now going to be running in, I think that's P7 for him, P6 actually. So a very strong result at the moment for Corey Preston, as we will have to cut to our race leaders once again, because Jared Philsell through Maggots and Beckett's really closing in inch by inch on Wayne Burke. And Burke, a little bit of a tight entrance into this final corner. Jared Philsell just opens it up a little bit more and allows him to get on the power just that little bit earlier with the slipstream advantage as well. This could potentially be the move for the motor race. Jared Philsell in the slipstream, thinking about it into Stowe, decides to wait one more lap and might just give a little bit of a bump there on the back bumper to the Synergy Sim Racing car as they now exit, heading towards the club section. Jared Philsell is giving Wayne Burke not even the smallest bit of breathing room right here, Zach.
Yeah, all of these guys are making me oof a lot tonight. It's pretty crazy how close these guys are getting and just bumping each other and running on the bumpers as they're exiting the corners. It's great. And we haven't really seen any outrageous accidents so far. So good play to all these guys out on track, putting on a fantastic show. And Philsell once again very close to the back of Wayne Burke there. And now Jared using that wider line to carry some momentum through that corner and break very, very deep. And now he's right on the back of the bumper, falls a little bit away mid-corner there, but trying to open up that exit. But so is Wayne. Wayne keeping it tight, then going wide, and then coming out for a nice straight exit. And you can see what that benefited for him. He did a very good job of getting some good traction out of there and pulled himself out a nice little gap. And even a small little breathing space like that is enough to really relax you and set you up for the next couple of corners, because there's nothing worse than having a guy right on your bumper. You never know when he could just come out and try and pull something on you. Having that, even he's only got 0.4 of a second, but it's 5 or 6 car lengths at the moment, and that's very, very good for his confidence. And you can see he's carried a lot better speed through that Maggots and Cops complex as he did last time, and he has a much more significant lead than he did the last time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time around, he was looking in his mirrors, trying to make sure that Phil Sub wouldn't try anything. On this time around, he can focus on his brake markers, just make sure he hits his marks, and he does hit his marks, gets the apex and on the power. The only issue is that Jared Philcell behind just does it a little bit faster. The gap now comes down to 0.3 of a second. Now into the club section, which is a very tough section, as you're constantly on the brake, on the throttle, just trying to get a nice balance and trying to get the exit. Gap comes down to, well, opens up to 3.5. So just a lot of ebbing and flowing in this fight at the moment. As we also have Sam Black behind us, saw in the hangar straight, was actually weaving on the straight to try and break off the slipstream for Ryan O'Sullivan. So Blacklock clearly thinks there's a bit of a threat from behind from Ryan O'Sullivan at the moment, and just trying to make sure there is no advantage for O'Sullivan on the straights, as Jared Philcell goes very late on the brakes, heading into the slow section of corners at the moment. And he's definitely not afraid to test the limits of where the front of his car is, that's for sure. Of course, everyone on iRacing, if you're not aware or new to the service, everyone is forced into cockpit view, so you're forced to see what the drivers would see in real life. Makes it all the more realistic. So sometimes you can't quite see where the front of your car is, but Jared Philcell most certainly has confidence in where his is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was actually just riding in the cockpit view with Jared Philcell just then, and he's getting wheel spin in 5th gear even as they're coming out of Woodcote there. So he's been using his rear tires very aggressively, and you can see just how much more curb he's using in certain parts of this section, and two very different lines from these drivers as they come through that Maggots and Beckett's complex. But as you can see, as they come out the other side, even with two very different lines, they come out relatively the same apart from each other, but Philcell just edging ever closer with that draft that he has, and he does seem to be very good under brakes, and Wayne just running a little bit wide there. That could be enough for Philcell to just, yeah, you can see him now being very aggressive. He knows that this is a good opportunity, and he's very good out of club corner here, using the gears, but also both of them just sliding the tail as they ever so gently apply the throttle to avoid getting the wheel spin in these locked diff cars. Very difficult to get the power down. And now through bridge again. Jared Philcell's car is very quick on the entry to the corner, but he seems to be losing out a little bit mid-corner, and then makes it all back up in the braking zone again, and just trying to get in the mirrors and take a very tight line there, and just try and force Wayne Burke into a mistake. But Wayne he's stone cold right now. He's doing a very good job to hold off Mr. V8.
He certainly is. He's got all the pressure on the world on him at the moment, and is rising to the challenge. But the issue is there is still 10 laps to go, and Philcell looking everywhere now. Even Cops isn't out of the order. He's going to think about it into there as well. Not able to do it, but just a little bit of weaving on the straights, just filling the mirrors, and there is no point on this circuit at the moment that poor Mr. Wayne Burke can feel confident or comfortable with the driver behind him. And once again, a very tight line for Wayne Burke there, and it's just going to compromise his exit all the way down this straight, while Philcell gets a very nice exit. He's got the slipstream as well, so we'll wait and see what he can do as the track temp notches up another degree, now up to 41 degrees. It just keeps getting higher and higher, but the position's not higher for Jared Philcell at the moment, stuck at position number 2, but still lots of time left. And you can see there, Wayne Burke, a little bit of a slide on the exit. He is definitely feeling the pressure now. He might be the Iceman for a couple laps, but is the ice starting to crack? Maybe for the Synergy Sim Racing driver.
Well, they are both making mistakes. I mean, Wayne's very tight line coming through Beckett's, or for the exit of Beckett's there, was due to the fact that he understeered really badly as he was coming through the exit of Maggots, and that ran him very deep into the corner, which is not what he wanted. But then Philcell got a little bit more wheel spin on the exit than he would have wanted, so possibly gave up on an opportunity there, and he's given him a little bump as they're coming through Brooklands and into Luffield now. So is Jared Philcell getting sick and tired of waiting? Does he want to get past? I'd say he does. And looking at the way he's working that wheel right now and trying to control that wheel spin, and you can see opposite lock as they're coming through, just a bare kink in the road. He's trying to put everything into this, but Wayne Burke still holding on.
For the moment, he is still holding on. but this is going to be a real test. Philcell has not been this close for a lot of laps now, and now for the Maggott and Beckett section, this has to be perfection for Wayne Burke. He has to maximize every apex, every corner speed, every throttle input he can to maximize a much wider entrance to the corner. That's good news for him. Bad news, Jared Philcell gets a much nicer run as well and is very, very close, but good speed for both cars, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think, for the Synergy Sim Racing car. Philcell to the outside, switches to the inside, and gets the move potentially done into Stowe, but Wayne Burke, holding a lot of momentum on the outside, might just be able to hold it, because this is going to turn to the inside for the club section, and Philcell backs out of it nice and early. Burke goes very, very tight now. Philcell cuts to the outside, cuts to the inside, almost a bump on the rear bumper as well on the Synergy Sim Racing car. And you can see that Philcell was trying to line up a crisscross there, try to get up to the inside, but couldn't quite do it. Great overspeed now though, heading into bridge, but not quite close enough. But we've seen how good he can be in the slow speed sections through this final few corners of the Silverstone layout. So will he potentially try something? We saw a bump last time around. Could we see something even greater this time around? Of course we are! It's Jared Philcell up the inside, a bump given. And I don't think he's going to be too happy with that one. A bit of a bump there. And Philcell says, I think, oh, I don't know. He's slowing a bit there. Is he going to redress that move? I don't know. It was a very, very forceful, very, very aggressive. But it looks as if Philcell might be continuing on with that one. That was a brave move, to say the least.
Yeah, I got to say, I saw it coming from a mile away. And I think he just started moving over too late and didn't really consider how early Wayne was going to break for that corner. Would I give the position back if it was me? I don't know. Possibly. But it was a move done, and Wayne is now right on the tail, and he doesn't want to let go. And Jared doesn't have the advantage to that slipstream now, so now he's going to be on the defensive. And Wayne Burke got a nice exit, and he's got a lot of horses under the bonnet at Synergy Racing Holden, and just going to pull out of the throttle a little bit early there and decide not to go for a dive, but maybe have a look elsewhere on the track. His car has looked very strong, but again, as we've seen week after week, two different teams, two different principles behind setting up the car, and you can see it in the attitudes of the car. And Philcell now just struggling to get that traction and the mid-corner speed that he wanted, and now Wayne's going to have a great run down into the bridge corner. It's very difficult to pass down there. I don't think, unless without some late braking, he's going to do anything. He doesn't. He's going to be sensible, but can he pull something out here? Trying to use a wider line. But this is where we've seen Philcell very strong and very late on the brakes. Wayne just not quite able to match him as they come down through there. But again, this is where Wayne's been good, is on the exit of Luffield here, and as they come down through Woodcote. Yeah, look, and Wayne was doing very well there, but got a big slide just as he was coming out of the exit. So not going to get it this time round, but looking very racy, and I reckon that this is definitely on.
It most certainly is, and there is still 7 laps to go, so there's still time for Wayne Burke to try and get that position back. So we'll wait and see what he can do. He does look very good in the slipstream on a few places on this circuit, so it's not over by any means, as Jared Philcell chucks the car into the high-speed Maggott and Beckett section at such a high speed and just gets a little bit of a gap on Burke, but Burke reels it in on this second phase and gets a very nice second phase, in fact, but doesn't quite get the exit he probably would have needed. But nonetheless, on the straight now with the slipstream, the advantage is going to be in the favour of the number 6 car. What can he do into slow? I don't think anything on this lap, not close enough. So just decides to sit behind Jared Philcell for one more lap, or look for another opportunity as Philcell out and wide a little bit on the exit of Stowe. But once again, Wayne Burke not able to get any kind of overlap. Philcell almost touching the grass on the entrance there into this section, and could potentially Wayne Burke try and think about up the inside. Not able to do it. He gets a very nice exit, and what this is doing is allowing Sam Blacklock to slowly creep back in on this battle. He's gained 6/10 on this lap alone, but we'll stay with Wayne Burke, who is putting so much pressure on the defending V8 Scops champion at the moment through the high-speed section of bridge. Thinks to the inside, up the inside goes Wayne Burke, a fantastic move. Will he potentially give a little bit of a bump to Jared Philcell? Say, I did not appreciate that move before. He's still up the inside, and this could potentially give Philcell the inside to this next corner, and he does get the inside. So that's not what Burke needed. He needed to try and get the overlap, close the door sooner, because what that means now is Phil Self gets the inside for his next two corners and cops, which is oh so critical. And Burke won't be able to do much unless he gets the crisscross, doesn't have the speed. But Burke has made his intentions clear here, and he thinks about the inside, gets the nose cut off as well. This is on, and Sam Blacklock says hi.
Yeah, Sam Blacklock's just been pumping in some very, very decent laps and has pulled out a gap over Ryan O'Sullivan. He was weaving over the track to get rid of him before. Seems to have worked a little bit, and now he could possibly be in contention for the lead, because while Jared Filsell, and he's gone down the inside, Wayne Burke, but does he have the exit? He's going to cross back under. Oh, yeah, it's on now. He's got some very, very good speed coming down, and Sam Blacklock just looking in the distance, licking his lips, and Wayne chooses for the inside line. Filsell giving plenty of room, and looks like Wayne's got the move done very nicely, but now Filsell's got the inside line for the next corner, but Wayne just chops off the nose there. He's going to run very deep as they come on into the entry to club, and Filsell's going to try and hold it around the outside, but I don't think he has the traction to make it work. Oh, they're going to go side by side through the Abbey corner here. This is going to be tight. Big lift for both of these guys. Who's going to be braver? It looks like Wayne's going to come out. He's got the preferred line and he makes it through. But now Blacklock is right in it. Oh, but he's going to go around the outside of Bridge. That gives him the inside. And wow, Jared Filsell doing a fantastic job to keep that position. And now Blacklock going down the inside, and there's a touch. Oh, no. And now Sullivan might get through as well. He is. He's going to go down the inside. And he's gone. So Wayne Burke trying to fight around the outside. And Ryan O'Sullivan not leaving much room on the exit, but they get through. And Wayne Burke goes from hero to fourth. Better than zero, but still not ideal.
Oh, but he's got a stop at Cops, and he's hit Ryan O'Sullivan, and O'Sullivan hits the wall hard at the Cops wall, a bit reminiscent to the Grand Prix last night, but the damage a lot worse to the Evolution Racing Team Commodore, and he is going to try and continue, but the damage is evident, and the position loss even more so, as he'll drop down to position number 8, potentially 9 if Scott Larnack has anything to say about it. A disaster there, and that's just red mist from all of these issues here. That there was so much like fighting and contact over the last few laps, and all of a sudden it boils over. A big move from Wayne Burke, and unfortunately just misjudged just a little bit.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate, but it's very hard to think straight when things like that have just happened. And yeah, very unfortunate to see. Ryan O'Sullivan was doing a fantastic job and was possibly even going to be, oh no! Yeah, and now Ryan O'Sullivan, I think, has been DQ'd from the race after he just had a bit of a moment and got into Scott Larnack, who was trying to get by. So very unfortunate for Ryan O'Sullivan, doing a great job inside the top 5, and unfortunately has to resign himself to the pit lane for the rest of the race. But there are other battles going on now that the battle for the lead has died down a little bit.
Almost a huge time from Brett Loxton there. Almost completely threw up the inside of Forza and El Nabi there, which is a battle I think you were just about to reference here, Zach. As these guys are in a great fight at the moment. Corey Preston on very old tires at the moment, just struggling a little bit, but still trying to apply pressure to the back of Riley Blythe. And it also includes Forza and El Nabi and Brett Loxton, so a very nice 4-car train here at the moment, who are all going to go one position higher unto the unfortunate demise of Ryan O'Sullivan. So this is a battle for P number 4 at the moment, and Riley Blythe at the head of a train. I don't think I'd want to be here, Zach.
Yeah, well, he's been in front of that train for a while, but I noticed as he was coming down into Bridge, the rear of his car got very, very loose, and Corey Preston has been, with the exception of the last time round, he actually has been lapping consistently a little bit faster than Riley Blythe, and Corey Preston just looking very, very squirrely. I think he can taste Riley Blythe and the fact that he's maybe hurting a little bit, but now Corey's starting to hurt himself as he just tries to get on the power a little too early as they come into Stowe now, and Forzan Al Nabi not close enough. But Riley Blythe's been doing some fantastic work to get himself up into 4th position, but he has used a lot of his tire in trying to do that, and I think that's where Corey Preston's going to have his advantage for the last 3 laps of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wait and see what he can do at the moment, as these guys all continue to be very close to one another. We saw Loxton be quite aggressive on the last time around. Will he be able to try anything on Forza and El Nabi this time around? He's quite far back at the moment, but doesn't mind having quite the big dive into this corner. Indeed, he does. Up the inside goes Brett Loxton. El Nabi gives him just enough room to work with, and it might just be the position done there for Brett Loxton. A great move. Jumps himself up to P number 6 now, but El Nabi with a big dive, thought about up the inside, not able to do it. So a great move there for Brett Loxton, +1 position, but can he do anything with Corey Preston now? Just a little bit in front, 3 laps still on the clock.
Yeah, I think Brett's at the very top of the leaderboard almost. He's #1 man behind Jared Filsell, so he'll be doing and wanting to do everything that he can to maximize his points haul this evening, and a top 5 for tonight would definitely do that. But he was very wise in shutting the door for Forza and El Nabi there, as he tried to make the return attack after a nice little move after the bridge corner there. But he does have a little bit of a gap. It's about a second to Corey Preston up ahead of him, and with only 2 and a bit laps to go, it is going to be very, very difficult to close up and then pass. But Corey Preston is now looking very close to the back of Riley Blythe, and if these guys start battling a bit, those other 2 guys behind will be right in it. And you can see now Corey Preston all over the back of Riley Blythe, and as they come out of Stowe and into Club Corner, will Corey Preston be able to position his car in a way that he can get a fantastic run down into the bridge? He's looking pretty good, probably not quite as close as he needs to be to get anything done, but his car speed right now is looking very good.
It definitely is, and he's almost doing a bit of car speed as well at the moment, but nonetheless still pushing on in the attack of Riley Blythe, just a little bit in front and very strong on the brakes there for Corey Preston. Bit of a slide as well for Blythe, so signs of weakness being shown, but still very much holding that position. So we'll wait and see what Preston can do through these slow speed sections of corners. Not ideal, I don't think, for Corey's setup, but nonetheless on the power now, which is a really tricky corner to get the power on, because you're constantly trying to get on the throttle while still turning out of the corner. So the car constantly on these worn out tires, wanting to light up in the wheel spin, but all these drivers managing it perfectly for the 28th time, the penultimate time in this race. We'll wait and see if this can go on a little bit, but Thomas McMillan is in a bit of a fight at the moment as Guy Leach dives up the inside, gets the position done, but look at the run McMillan might have just set himself up for here. Looks to the inside, not much room there, might just be about pushed into the inside. Oh, in the grass as well for Guy Leach, holds it Valentino Rossi 46 style in the grass. Fantastic stuff there from these two, and a very, very aggressive stuff as well, but nonetheless McMillan does indeed lose that position there to Guy Leach. And this is a battle we might have to keep an eye on, Zach, because this looks pretty feisty.
Yeah, I genuinely thought they were both going in the wall before. They were very, very skilled for both of them not to go around. And Thomas McMillan actually having the foresight to notice that Guy was in a bit of trouble and putting on the brakes so that he didn't turn him around probably saved them both there. But McMillan is very, very hot on the heels now, and he's not happy about losing that position. He wants it back, and he's going to try and go for a little bit of crisscross here, but might dive for the inside. Thinks he's a little bit far back. Going to try and carry some momentum into the entry of Club Corner. A very interesting corner here. Don't quite slow down enough to make it a slow speed corner, but kind of exit it in a way that you would a kind of hairpin in a sense. Very difficult to get the power down as they come through this kink in Abbey and down to the bridge corner. Just not quite far enough. Leach doing a good job to eke out a little bit of a lead over McMillan, and McMillan's going to have to stay behind for the next few corners. He has been looking very good under brakes though, and very strong in the slower speed sections, so try and set him off for a nice exit out of club, and you can see him closing up midway through that corner and squaring off the exit to get a very straight shot down through Woodcote. Again, just not quite able to make that work as they start the final lap.
They do indeed start the final lap. Our leaders are already quite a fair way through the first lap as they're making their way through the Stowe section. Trans Tasman Racing 1 and 2 at the moment, with Wayne Burke holding P number 3. So it's been like these three guys for quite a fair bit of these races. Of course, in the first stint, there was that fantastic fight between the top four, all fighting it out for the win or for the lead of the race at that point. Bit of an issue for Sam Blacklock in the pit lane, did overshoot quite a bit, and then but with Jared Philsell and Wayne Burke absolutely knocking each other's car panels to pieces, he just managed to close that gap down a little bit and get himself into second. But regardless of what you thought of the move, whether it was controversial or not, you cannot deny the fact that Jared Philsell has done a fantastic job in this race. He played his cards right, he played the strategy right, and he is going to extend his championship lead. As things stand, championship leader by over 200 points after 3 rounds. After this 4th round, it might just be a little bit bigger. Jared Philsell will be your race winner for round number 4, leading home a Trans-Tasman Racing 1 and 2 with a brilliant drive from Wayne Burke to take out the final step on the podium. And we still have that battle happening behind with Riley Blythe, Corey Preston and Brett Loxton, but it will stay in that order as they cross the line in the order they were already. So great drives from them, as Scott Lineak, Jordan Ross and Ross Rizzo will close out your top 10. And we'll wait and see how the final few cars get across the line as McMillan still tries to get away past on the Doctor sponsored car, Valentino Rossi, the 46, and it will be the Doctor that will come home in unlucky for some, P number 13. McMillan doing a bit of, he's going to lose a spot here. He might lose a spot here, and Thomas McMillan across the line almost loses a spot there, does manage to hit another car. We do not promote that. We do not promote finishing races like that, but nonetheless spectacular, as always, for Thomas McMillan. Zach, what a race that was.
Yeah, McMillan actually did lose that spot. They came over the line, and McKnight, I thought, didn't quite make it, but he did by a couple of, quite a bit actually. So that line must have been a little further back than I thought, but yeah, what a race. There wasn't really a moment where we had time to think much at all, and very unfortunate, of course, to see the race leader having a technical problem and having to pull off to the side of the road. But you know, as we've seen in real life motor racing time after time, these things happen. You could have an engine failure or suspension failure, and luckily we don't have to pay the bills and nobody gets hurt. So unfortunately, it just possibly lost a little bit of entertainment in the show. But that being said, the show was non-stop and it was fantastic the whole time.
It absolutely was. We will run through your race results, and it was Jared Philsell who took home a Trans-Tasman Racing 1 and 2 ahead of Sam Blacklock. Wayne Burke almost had a shot at victory and fought so hard for it. Will end up at the podium, nonetheless a great result. Riley Blythe had pressure from cars behind the entire race distance, but did hold on for P number 4 with Corey Preston for Cross Continental Motorsports. A fantastic display for P number 5. Brett Loxton tried to run him down in P number 6 with Forza El Nabi, Scott Lineak, John Ross, and Ross Rizzo, your top 10.
Yeah, then we had Brian Borg taking up P number 11, followed by his teammate Jason Bentz in 12. Guy Leach coming home in unlucky or lucky number 13, and Jamie McKnight in the 14th position, snagging that position from Thomas McMillan, as McMillan was all sorts of crazy as he came over the line. Eric Galvez, a very quiet race from Eric in 17th, as it was for Emily Jones, although she did promote herself from 25th up into 17th. Marie Hushka finished in 18th, David Kimman in 19th, and Steve Jansen rounded out the top 20. We then had Greg Sharp in 21st, David Miller in 22nd, and then our non-finishers, Ryan O'Sullivan, Abarafti Putra, Brady Myers, and Ethan Grigault. So I don't actually, did we cover Brady Myers not finishing the race? I don't actually know what happened to Brady Myers, but he's 15 laps down. So obviously something went a bit awry for him, possibly just after they came out of the pits there. We did notice he was slow, but yeah, don't know if that had anything to do with his DNF.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of an odd one, unfortunately, for Brady Myers, but nonetheless, always a driver we see towards the front, so no doubt he will be back next time out. And if you're not already subscribed to the iRacing Esports Network, be sure to hit subscribe, because this is where the new home of the V8 Supercars online Premier Series will be this Sunday. Of course, we're going to round number 8, Laguna Seca. It's got the elevation changes you love, it's got the passing opportunities you need, and we have 80 drivers ready to crack in for splits 1 and 2. Both will be kicking off once again at the usual time. It'll be awesome to see it on this brand new platform, which you're not already subscribed. be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. But of course, you always need to check out the V8 Online channel as well, because on Wednesday night we will be featuring the V8 Online Porsche Super Cup Australasia round number 1 from Interlagos, following the schedule from the Geodesic Sprint Series Australia Championship. And Zach, I know you're looking forward to that Porsche race.
Well, possibly. Hopefully looking forward towards the front of the field, as I'm sure you possibly might be as well, Bo. Yeah, the Sprint Series race at Brazil last week was pretty crazy. So hopefully it'll be a little less crazy this week and we can have some fantastic racing. But that new Porsche Super Cup Series is going to be one to watch for sure. And another thing, guys, we know we keep on ranting on about the subscribing. Don't forget to smash that like button if you thought that this race was fantastic. And also don't forget to give us a comment on what you thought about that move with Phil Cell. Give us your thoughts and let us know what you think. And we'll hopefully have access to possibly respond to a couple of you as well. But yeah, I think this Porsche race on Wednesday is going to be great.
Yeah, well, it definitely should be. But I think we'll wrap it up there. On behalf of myself, Zach, and Jay Kennedy in the director's booth, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.